Hello everyone, welcome back to Eutopia. Today we are talking about applying for a position as a resident in Switzerland. From the very beginning, when you are thinking to become a doctor in Switzerland and thinking to apply, and then through every step of the process all the way through the face-to-face interviews, and basically everything that there is to know and to think about that. As always, if you feel like watching the whole video out of love towards me, by all means do that. If not, then I will put some timelines in the video and you can check where in that timeline you actually find yourself right now and just click on it. Also, on top of that, I will talk about my experience when it comes to applying. I applied to several hospitals, out of which I've had contracts in 2 of them, where I'm working right now and where I will be working 6 to 7 months in the future. And also, I did ask my boss, my today's boss, what he finds important when it comes to the application process and what kind of doctors he likes to choose for the position as a resident and why. So also at the end we will be addressing that. But let's go to the beginning of the video, to the timeline. So at the very beginning you are still a medical student, you're not even a doctor yet, you know you want to come to Switzerland, maybe you know the specialty that you would like to do, maybe not. But you know that it takes a lot of time, so you're thinking about applying already. Should you apply as a resident when you are still a student? My answer to that is not a no, but it's more like a careful with that. Because think about it from the eyes of the hospital, of your soon-to-become boss. If a student is applying for a job, he's not even a doctor yet, you are not even allowed to legally give him a contract because he's not even anerkannt in Switzerland. And if there is literally anyone else applying for the same position, you will give the position to the other person because this student, it just doesn't qualify yet. I understand that sometimes these positions are given 1 to 2 to more than 2 years in advance and you want to be ahead of the curve. But if you don't get the position anyway, then you're not really ahead of the curve. I do find, however, reasonable to apply for a sort of a practicum and work there, sadly for free, but or for a small amount of money. But you give a very good impression and then you let them know when they already know you, they know who you are, you're not just a piece of paper. Then you let them know, I want to come around in a year and a half or in a year when I'm already an official Swiss doctor and I did the Anerkennung with my Beko and everything, then you would have some chances. But applying when you're a student might work, but most likely expect negative answers. Now, you want to apply for a position and you are not quite sure where you should apply. Maybe you know what specialty you would like, but you also heard that it's very difficult to find a position and you're wondering where is it easier to find a position and where is it harder. Here my answer would be, think about how it's in your own country and it's most likely the same. So where is it easiest to find a position? I'm thinking about, on the one side, those specialties in which you don't have to work in the night, in which you don't have to pull a lot of hours, in which you don't really have that much stress. And you can even make your own clinic and get rich. I'm thinking about dermatology, I'm thinking about ophthalmology, allergology, these kind of specialties which are more like chilling and relaxed, and you get the same or even more amount of money. People are not stupid and many people want to go there. And because of that, there's so many positions for so many doctors and it's more difficult to find a position there. On the other side, you have another kind of specialty that is also very difficult to get in, which is the try-harding, hospital is my home, medicine is my life, and I'm going to work hard and be the best. I'm thinking about, classical example is cardiosurgery, those kind of things. Many people, again, want to try hard and be the best, and it might be more difficult to find a position there. Think about it this way. You have every single doctor in Switzerland and every single student that becomes a doctor in Switzerland who wants to probably, not necessarily, but probably go to in one of these specialties. At least it's most likely that they go to these specialties than that they go to internal diseases, for example. And on top of that, you have in our country, Germany, with 80 million people, out of which all of their doctors can at any time come to Switzerland because they already speak the language and they don't have so much of a cultural or language barrier as we do, and many of them do. So you have all of the Swiss people, some of the German people, who are many, and then you have the rest of Europeans, and then you have Middle East and many other countries who are trying to collapse in Switzerland, trying to find a job. So yeah, these specialties it's difficult to find a position in there. Just to give you an idea of how difficult it is, we're going to talk for a short moment about my girlfriend. My girlfriend was until now a resident of anesthesia with me. She has 3 years of experience altogether, 1 year in anesthesia, 1 year in intensive care unit, and 1 year in internal diseases. So 3 years of experience cumulated, and she decided that she wants to change the direction of her life. She doesn't want to work in the nights with so much stress, and she decided to change to dermatology. Great. And so she applied aggressively to every single hospital in Switzerland that speaks German as a main language for dermatology. From the very beginning, all of the A's and B's said automatically, sorry, you are out, and you're out by a lot. We don't even want to talk to you, you're out. And then when it comes to the C hospitals, most of them didn't give her a single chance. Out of every single hospital in Switzerland, she got 3 maybes. Out of those 3 maybes, she got interviews with 2 of them, and out of those 2, she finally got a contract in one of them. It's a C-type hospital, and she can only stay there for so long given the way the residence is structured in Switzerland. But it shows you how competitive it is. If you are a doctor who is already living and working in Switzerland with 3 years experience, it's barely the cut to the minimum of dermatology. And so imagine how good you have to be, or how much experience or knowledge, or I don't know what you have to even apply for the B's, and I'm not even thinking about the A's. With this, I don't mean to completely discourage you from pursuing these specialties. Please do. Just think that it's very competitive, and don't get sad when you get many no's in a row. It's completely normal. It's to be expected. Then on the other side, we have the easy to get in specialties, which are the ones that normally people don't want. I'm saying that normally people don't want. I'm not saying that no one wants them. Just statistically, they are not the first choice. I'm thinking just quickly about internal diseases. I'm thinking about psychiatry. I'm thinking about rehabilitation. These kind of things that no one really from deep inside wants to do, or very few people from deep inside want to do. And out of those, there is a lot of demand. And because of that, if you were to apply to one of these, I'm sure that the lowest bar is not 3 years of experience. It's probably 0 years of experience. And because of that reason, one trick that many people do is they apply first to one of these specialties, normally internal diseases, and they stay there for 1 to 2 years. And during these 1 to 2 years, they accumulate experience. They learn the language well, Swiss German as well. And during this time, they keep applying and keep applying and keep applying to the specialty that they actually really wanted. And sooner or later, they will get it in a C kind of hospital somewhere in Switzerland, because they already accumulated enough experience. And once they are in the specialty they want, then it's easier to keep scaling. So yeah, it's a little trick that some people do when it's really difficult to go to the specialty that you wanted to go in the first place. So if you are thinking of applying and you don't know where to go, please, by all means, first apply to the one that you really want, the one that your heart tells you that you should go. And if it happens to be the case that literally no one accepts you, then think about the back door. Maybe you can use it. The next step would be, if you're a doctor, you have the Anerkennung, and you already know which specialty you want to do, the next step is, okay, how do I apply? Where are the hospitals? How do I find them? It's most important. And once I found them, how do I know if they allow residents or not, if they have a specialty program, or maybe they only allow specialists? Because, for example, I checked the website and there is not a single picture in the teams of the residents, and it doesn't say anything about it. And I check other websites of job listings, job postings, and interestingly, there is not a single job offer for, say, dermatology in the whole Switzerland. How can this be? There must be residents, and if there are residents who eventually become specialists, and as they move up, there has to be eventually a position at the bottom for a first-year resident, but there is not a single one in the whole country. What's going on? First of all, when it comes to finding the hospitals, there's this website that I will put in the description down below. It's an official website with all of the hospitals that offer you specialty. For example, a hospital may be an A kind of hospital for anesthesia, but a B kind of hospital for a certain type of surgery. So you click on the specialty, and then you click in all over Switzerland, for example, and then you put a B or a C category or nothing at all. Click on search, and then you have a whole list of all of the hospitals that offer you a Weiterbildung, a residence program for the specialty that you wanted. So you already found them. Now, and that's very easy, very quick. Now the question is, I already found you. I know that you have positions for residents. However, you are not listing any open position. Is it the case that you are completely full and you don't need anyone ever, or at least 1 to 2 years in advance? Or how do I know if you want me to apply to you if you're not offering jobs? And it has a trick. Remember I said that there is a lot of doctors trying to get in Switzerland and work in Switzerland and competing for the same job offers. I know that, you know that now, and the hospitals definitely know that. And they have a waiting list. And they don't open job offers because people are constantly doing what you call a Spontanbewerbung. They just apply by themselves. They go to internet, they find the email of the secretary or whatever, and they just apply anyway, even if there is not an open position. And the hospital will probably say, sorry, right now we don't have any open position, but we will have in 2 years. So do you want us to put you in the line in 2 years? And you say, yes, please. And there you are. Or maybe they don't even have an open position, but you apply anyway, and actually they do consider you. They just don't even bother making the open position because they don't have to. They know that you will come to them. It's like, I'm not coming to you, you will come to me. And it works, and it is what it is. So in other words, if you find a hospital that does a Weiterbildung for your specialty, regardless of whether they are looking or not for residents, whether they have a job offer or not posted somewhere, apply anyway. Don't let that discourage you, just apply anyway. Be aware though, that if they don't have it open, most likely they are not really in a hurry of finding someone, and it will be difficult for you to find it, to secure that position. But anyway, it is open to discussion. Just apply anyway. Okay, next step. You already found your hospitals, they don't have open positions, or maybe they do, it doesn't matter, you will apply anyway. Now, how do you apply? There's 2 ways, it depends on the hospital, how they want to do it. Either they have a special email for applications, or you go to the team that you want to apply to, say in my case anesthesia, and you have the email of the chefs and you have the email of the secretary, and sometimes they say, do you want to apply? Email to the secretary or email to this person, or email both, it doesn't matter. So you write an email and you have to attach the following documents: a CV, motivational letter, and I like to attach as well the proof that I am a medical doctor in Switzerland, the MEBECO recognition of both my diploma and my language. I'm not going to tell you how to write a CV. I'm not an expert in CVs. I personally make it short, occupies only 1 page, easy to read and easy to memorize. But that's only my opinion. You can do your CV however you want, just make it in German. When it comes to the motivational letter, it's very important, and they will read it. They will read it very carefully. And actually, it is an important factor when it comes to whether you will be having further conversations, interviews or not. In the motivational letter, which should be approximately 1 page long, you have to basically introduce yourself, say who you are, where you come from, what's your story, say that you want to come to Switzerland to work, and basically mention the main topics, which are why you want to work in their team and why their team should be happy to have you as a doctor. What do you have to offer? And basically 1 page. It's very important that it's well written. If you have any grammatic mistakes, you're out. And it's important that it sort of represents who you are. You cannot copy someone else's because it's someone else's. It has to represent who you are as a person. Now let me tell you my dirty little secret. Normally I write it in English because for me it's easier, and then I translate it to German, and then I change the order of the sentences because of course a translation from English to German sounds too artificial, right? So you change it to German and you make sure everything is fine. However, I do not send that because there is for sure some mistakes that I have made, even if I pass it through translators many times. There's probably a lot of mistakes I've made, and it's probably still not good enough. So what I do, I go to fiverr.com, and there is people who literally for a living do cover letters or motivational letters. And they cost like anywhere between €5 and 100. So I find 2 or 3 that charge me 15, 20. I send them the same text and I tell them, please correct my mistakes and make it look like a German wrote it. How would you write this text if you had to write this text? And a couple of days later, they send me the results. I compare, make sure that they all agree on some mistakes I made, and I make the best version of my motivational letter, which, by the way, you can also use in the future applying for other jobs. So it's a very good investment. And so you have already your CV, you have your motivational letter, and also you send a picture of your recognition from a beacon. Then the text of the email doesn't have to be long. You don't have to tell them your life because you're literally telling them your life in the motivational letter. So just say who you are, that you're applying for a position, maybe starting next year or whenever, and click send to either the email that they want you to write it to, or directly to the Chefarzt, or directly to the secretary. So you send the email and then you get an answer like, yeah, everything went fine, we'll let you know. And they actually do let you know. Normally you get something in the lines of, yeah, it was a great text, we loved reading it, however, sadly, blah, 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 and then you're out. And that will be like 80% of the emails you send, the emails you receive. But every now and then you will get a positive one, which is something in the lines of, we loved reading it, we would like to know more, and we would like to schedule a video conference in a few weeks or whenever. Are you okay with that? And then, you make an appointment. And so it's time for an online interview. And the question is, of course, how does it go? What is normal to expect? And what will they ask? I have to say, these online interviews, they are basically small talk. They want to make sure, first of all, that you do actually speak German, that you are a real person, that you actually do speak German, and that you're not too weird, that you can carry on with a normal conversation. So you will start talking with probably a secretary and the Chefarzt, or maybe someone from HR and the Chefarzt. And they will just ask you to introduce yourself. You say, hi, my name is Eutopia. I come from here, studied there, have this much experience, work here and there, realize I love anesthesia. I would love to apply to your hospital. That's my story. And basically they will ask you, it's like small talk, personal questions, not too personal, and they will also tell about themselves, because they also have to present themselves to you. They have to say what you will do. For example, in the case of anesthesia, they will go like, we also do regional anesthesia, we do some orthopedic anesthesia for orthopedic operations, we do a little bit of eye operations, so you will learn those as well. Maybe a little bit of hand surgery, so your regional anesthesia, you will learn it very well. They sort of tell you all of the things. They're basically selling themselves as well. And small questions from them, small talk, and it is also expected that you ask questions. So they will say eventually, would you like to ask us something? And you have to ask something. If you don't ask anything, it doesn't look good. It looks like you're not interested in them, or that you didn't really prepare for this. The most common questions that they will ask you are, why did you choose, for example, anesthesia? Why did you choose Switzerland, being wherever you were? And why did you choose to go with us and not with other hospital? And these questions repeat themselves all of the time, and actually they are important. You don't want to be too much of an ass and say, well, I don't care about you, I have other hospitals. It's a tricky thing you can do. They also do it to you, but it can bite you back. And they might also ask you, when would you like to start working with them? For example, September or next year or in 2 years. And would you like to work 100%, 80%, 50%? To you, might not be that big of a difference, but maybe they absolutely need someone who works 100%, or maybe they don't care. Maybe they actually would be okay with someone who works a bit less. So again, these questions are more organizational than medical. They won't be asking you for the mechanism of action of whatever drug. That's not happening. I remember in my second hospital I did in the interview, when I was physically there, they did ask me about a couple of medical things, but just because the conversation literally went there by itself, not because they were planning on catching me with any catchy questions. It just happened to be the situation. But normally they won't be asking you any of that. And when it comes to your turn to ask questions, you also want to ask a couple of things. First of all, you don't want to come too strong to them or too lazy. So you don't want to ask exactly how many days of urlaub do I have from the very beginning, or what happens if I stay 1 hour longer a day, do I get it back the next day? That comes as lazy. However, you do want to make sure that you will be respected to some degree. They won't be playing around with you. So you want to ask what your obligations will be, and if there is a teaching period, more or less like a month, before you start taking over those obligations, and whether there will be a facharzt behind you helping you through that, or whether you will be completely independent and having no help. That is a reasonable question, and you want them to tell you that you will have someone behind you helping you, that you won't be completely alone. Also, as a resident, you have the right to go to Fortbildungen and to learn. They cannot have you working all of the time. They do also have to teach you to some degree. And you want them to have a program, a teaching program for you. And also many hospitals do pay you every year up to a certain amount of francs, couple of thousands, for you to go to different Fortbildungen and to get diplomas and other things. And you want to know whether they will be supporting you there or whether they just want you to work. And those are reasonable questions that you can ask, and that shows them that you do care about the job, but you also care about your own learning and that it's important for you. And so that sets, I would say, a very reasonable and respectable ground. Then at the end of the interview, you just thank each other for the time, and either they will let you know, or maybe you have to let them know again that you're still interested. Anyway, you stop talking. 1 day later, if necessary, you send them another email reassuring that you still have interest. And if they also still have interest, then they will invite you to do a Schnuppertag. And that would be the next step. They do invite you to do a Schnuppertag, which is basically a shadowing day. You have to physically be there, and you do a normal working day with them. You're not really allowed to touch the patients or to do anything. You don't have a contract, right? But you do go there and you follow them, and you ask questions, and you meet with the chef, and you have another talk. And that should be the last step when it comes to applying for the job. Now, getting to do the Schnuppertag means that you made it to the final round of the application, but that doesn't really mean that you actually get the job. I must be honest though, I have done it 2 times and both times got the job. However, I have had doctors coming to my hospital where I am right now who are supposed to replace me in a few months, and they have done Schnuppertag and they have not gotten the position. So it's not a 100% kind of thing, but there's a high probability. So if they invite you to do a Schnuppertag and you are nice and you have a nice conversation with them and everything goes smoothly, there's a high chance that you actually do get it. And then at the end of the Schnuppertag, you go home, and 1 to 2 days later, you have to send them again another email reassuring, confirming once again that you do still have interest. Don't ask me why you have to send so many emails reassuring your interest, but you have to. Everyone does it. I did it as well. And with it, it closes the circle, and they answer that they will let you know, and hopefully they do let you know. So now I would like to share my personal experience. I would like to share the 2 interviews I have done for the 2 jobs where I got a contract. And also at the end, I would like to share, first of all, a conversation I had with my actual boss. I very casually asked him what he's looking about when it comes to new residents, and he gave me some insight that I would like to share. And after that, I will be addressing some questions that I got from Instagram that I don't think I have addressed so far. Alright, so my experience with these two hospitals and the whole application process. The hospital number 1, where I'm working right now, until August, and then the hospital number 2, in which I will start working from September of this year. So hospital number 1, I applied online as always, and I got lucky, and I got to have an online conversation with someone from HR and the chef Ersten. And we had a normal conversation just like what I just told you. I presented myself, I said who I am, very excited to come to Switzerland and all of that stuff. And she told me about how cool the hospital is, how many things we do in this kind of surgeries. We are the number 1 of Switzerland and whatnot. And the girl from HR also told me about the quality of working for this hospital, that we have a gym and other things like that. Anyway, it was just a 30-minute conversation. It went very well, and that was it. The next day, I sent an email thanking them for their conversation and telling them that I still had interest, and they answered offering me to go there for a Schnuppertag. Since at the time I was working in Germany, I couldn't just go at any time, so I scheduled it like 2 months in advance or something like that. Anyway, the day came and I drove over there and presented myself there physically for the Schnuppertag at 6:30 in the morning, dressed with my suit, right? And I got there, and at the reception of the hospital, they don't really know who I am or why I'm there, so they sent me straight to the operating room. And at the door of the operating room, someone who was coming to work, someone from the nurses, also didn't know I was coming, but yeah, opened me the door, told me to change, and that the rapport, the Frühbesprechung, was happening in like 5 minutes. So I changed, I go in there, and out of all of the doctors who are there and all of the nurses, no one knows that I'm coming, and the boss is not even there. But they say, okay, fine, you have a Schnuppertag, we trust you, and they assigned a resident to show me around and answer any question that I may have. So after rapport, we go to the resident says, sorry guys, I don't have time for you. And we get assigned to a nurse. And the nurse does show us around. So we see every single operating room, we see Einleitungsräume, we see Aufwachraum, we see all of the drugs, we see everything they use, they answer every question we may have. We go also around the hospital, we have lunch. We're not working, but we are seeing how the rest of the people work and how things are. So you get to see where you're going to work. And then after lunch, we don't really know what to do anymore, so we tell the nurse to call our boss. The boss picks up, says, yeah, come to my office. We go to the office, and we have another talk. This talk is literally the same talk. Like, she presented the same things, and we presented ourselves in this very similar way. And we basically said, we really love your hospital. We would like to work here. And, nothing else happened. She said, okay, you may go, and we will let you know. We basically went for nothing because no new information was talked about. But anyway, I guess another way of proving that we are normal people. We got to meet the team. They saw that we are not weird in any way. And a week later, they offered us the position. Now, fast forward a couple of months, I had already applied for the second hospital, and sometime around that process, around the same time, I also had the online interviews, which actually were 2, because in the first one, the chef first forgot to come. But anyway, I did them, and I was also asked to go for a Schnuppertag. Was it any different? Not much. I got there, secretary did know I was coming, but the chef wasn't there, so I was assigned again to someone from the nurses who showed us around 4 hours. And we saw the whole hospital again, and then we met the chef for lunch, and we had again a nice conversation. We talked about, skiing in the mountains and whatnot. Once again, they just want to see not only that you are who you are claiming to be, but they don't need to know if you're a good doctor or not face to face. They actually cannot know it until they see you work. That's why you have your CV. So actually, everything they need is in your CV. The reason of the motivational letter and the reason that you have an interview and the reason that you have to go physically there is to know that I am a normal person, that I can hold a conversation, that I can make a joke, that I can be serious when I have to be serious, that I can discuss things, and that I will make a good fit for the team, because there is not only what you can do, it's also the relation with your coworkers. So you want to make sure that the person you're going to bring in your team is going to be fitting well and that you won't be having problems. And there's only one way to know, which is bringing literally that person inside and having that person for a few hours around, see what happens. Anyway, after that lunch, I sticked around for a few more hours and eventually they let us go. And 1 week later, we had a contract. And this fits very well with what my boss said to me when I asked him about his preferences for residents. Like, so many people are applying, and what are you looking for? Who do you take and who do you leave? And he said basically, well, you still want the best doctor possible. So if you can choose, if you have, say, 100 people applying, you would like to get a Swiss one, if possible. You would like that Swiss one to have a PhD, to be a doctor, because it does show something, especially to the patients. It shows like you're superior somehow. And you want this person to have a lot of experience. You want what he called a Superassistenzarzt. You want an Assistenzarzt who already has 4 or 5 years experience somewhere else. Maybe he's even a Facharzt in a different Abteilung. And you want that resident to be able to work by himself, hands-free, without any input. That, however, is ideal, and in a small hospital doesn't happen often. Normally you have people without any experience applying. And so if you're having people who are not like a super resident applying, what do you prioritize? And what he said is, I would like to prioritize someone who is motivated, who is willing to work, who's willing to listen to me, and who will just fit fine with the team. If that person has some experience, perfect. But if that person doesn't have experience, at least must be motivated to work hard. And I have to tell you, a couple of weeks ago, a surgeon applied to work with us in anesthesia. He was supposed to take over my job when I leave. And this surgeon has over 5 to 6 years of experience in different kinds of surgery in Germany, in Switzerland. He is a Superassistenzarzt. And he was absolutely super confident, and he knew very well that he is too good for the job. For a small hospital anesthesia, he can work by himself, he won't give any problem, he really is too good for the position. But let me tell you something, that surgeon did not get the position, and it wasn't even close. And I asked my boss, why didn't you offer him the position? And he said he knows that he's too good for the job, he thinks that he's above the rest, and he will give us problems. And if I ask him to go a bit farther, he won't go a bit farther. If I ask him to work harder, he won't work harder. And he might also not respect the colleagues and other co-workers because he thinks of himself too highly. And he won't stop talking, he won't stop entertaining and being all cool. So if you do have a strong CV, if you have a lot of experience, it's very important, my opinion, and seeing my personal experience and what my boss told me, it seems very important that on top of that you are a person down to earth. You don't want to answer every question perfectly, you don't want to know everything, you don't want to be the fastest, the best, and the prettiest of all, and you don't want them to have that feeling that you think of yourself highly or better than others, because it's taken in a very negative way. And if you don't have the CV, then it turns out, in this case, for example, that someone with a worse CV, with less experience and probably worse Assistenzarzt when it comes to talking to patients or doing differential diagnosis and checking different conditions, he might be worse than the next one that gets the position, but he will get it because he's a more down-to-earth person and doesn't think so highly of himself. So anyway, it's just a case. It doesn't have to be applying for every single hospital, for every single Chefarzt. Every single Chefarzt has a different opinion on what he or she wants. But I know what mine wanted, and mine didn't like those who think too highly of themselves to be better than others, regardless of their experience. Now, I would like to answer some questions I got from Instagram that I may not have addressed so far. Is research needed? You don't have to do research or to have a PhD before applying to a hospital. However, they do look at it in a positive way. So if you're already a PhD, a Dr. Med, they will look at it in a positive way. If you're not, you don't have to be. You may also apply for the position. But it does count. If you have it, good for you. What should be my priorities as an EU medical student to build a good resume? Internships, observerships, research. All of them are good, especially experience, in my opinion, in the field that you want to work in. It's also asking, are there enough jobs available in the French part of Switzerland, or is German mandatory? It's not mandatory. However, German is prevalent in Switzerland, and even in the French part, there's a little of a mixed part of Switzerland where it's mixed French and German. So there, only with French you would be a bit cornered. And then if you only do French, then you want to go to the most French side of the country. So there's only so many hospitals you can apply to. So it's possible, but you are reducing yourself to a very small part of the country. Again, as long as they need you, as long as you're applying for a specialty that wants you to be there, you won't have any problem. But if you're applying for one of those specialties which is very difficult to get in, then I can assume that it's only playing against you. How is the whole process mentally? Is it stressful to have to look for jobs each year? It's not comfortable to look for jobs each year, but it's not only about looking for jobs. You change a job, you go to a different side of the country, you change your home, you change even the numbers on your car. So there's a lot of things you need to change whenever you change the jobs. So it is stressful, but it's the Swiss way of doing things, and it's what it is. The good thing about this is that everyone does it. Every hospital expects you to come and leave rather quickly in 1 to 2 years. So it's not like you disrespect them by saying that you want to go or applying for other jobs or saying, hey, give me a day free because I'm applying to a different job. It's a normal thing. They know you're doing it. Everyone is doing it. So it's just part of the culture. And do they ask medical questions in the interview? They do not ask medical questions in their interview. It's an interview about you, about your life, about who you are and why you fit in the team. It's not a medical exam. You already have your CV, and they are not going to go try to catch you. They might ask you, what experience do you have with pneumonias, for example? And then you say, either I have a lot of experience and we used to have this kind of treatment or policy, or sorry, I don't have any experience. But they won't be asking you theoretical questions. In my case, I did have sort of a theoretical question in my second interview, but it happened to be more like a coincidence. And we were already talking about the use of certain drugs in certain cases for patients in an anesthesia setting. So I put myself in there on purpose, which is fine because I wanted to be there. But coming from them, they won't be asking you any theory. No. I think that's going to be everything for today. I think I already spoke enough. And if you have any other questions, put them in the comments below. And other than that, I wish you all a good day and a good job hunt.